Egameni kaThixo iseyo, Thixo unyana, Thixo umoya engcwele, siza phambi kwakho Thixo somandla, siza phambi kwakho bawethu osezulwini, siwa phambi kwenyawo zakho, sinokudana lihlazo esikulo. Sizocela ke amandla kuwe ngosilungileyo xa sawuqala lo msebenzi. Nguwe wedwa Nkosi onamandla, zonke izinto sesisandleni sakho zilawulwa nguwe. Nguwe umniki wobomi nempilo, nguwe osiboleke uNosicelo, ekwanguwe ke omthathileyo. Sithini na ke ngoko kwezi zinto? Ukuba uthi kungakuthi ngubani na ke ongasichasayo? We come before your throne of grace, so dear Father and God, and invite the power of the Holy Spirit to lead this service in the name of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and give us our trespasses as we forgive that trespass against us, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is thy kingdom, thy power, and thy glory forever and ever. Amen. You may sit. Just to read one verse from Isaiah 41, verse 10. Probably specifically to the family. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your Lord. Trust in the Lord with your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. Masimthembe uThixo nangalo elixesha. Ekugqibeleni nguye osisiqalo, nguye osisiphelo. Inkosi mayizosula inyembezi emehlweni enu. Kungabe sabikho ukukhala, kungabe sabikho sijwele, kungabikho ukufa, kuba into zokuqala zidlule. Amen.
Ndiabulela Reverend Professor Lulama. We are now going to have a word of welcome and introduction from Mr. Jabulo Zuma, the Registrar of the University. Welcome you, sir.
Good morning, everybody. Before we start, I need to acknowledge the presence of the following people that are here amongst us this morning. Professor Njingwa, for the devotion that was rendered this just a moment ago. The Principal and Vice Chancellor of the University, Professor Sakela Buhlungu, Dr. Ellen Rungani, who is officiating as the Program Director this morning, Dr. Spogazi Koyana, who is the Deputy Chairperson of our University Council, the Honorable Deputy Minister of Higher Education and Training, Mr. Budimanda Mela, the Honorable Minister of Sports, Recreation, Arts and Culture in the province, Ms. Fezeka Ngomonyi, Dr. Nombulelo Lubisi, the Dean of the Faculty of Law at the University of Fort Hare, Advocate Andile Mini, the President of the Convocation at University of Fort Hare, Ms. Mtebeni Mayepa, the Deputy Registrar, also a member of the Anti-GBV Task Team of the University of Fort Hare, Mr. Mkanyiseli Nomana, I'm the SRC President, Dr. Rihanna Olufsen, a member of the Anti-GBV Task Team at the University of Fort Hare, Reverend Spogazi Martini, Nomvula Gugushe, representing the family, Professor Renuka Vital, Dr. Oscar Panjarden, and other members of the EMT that are here. Lest I forget, we also have in our midst the mayor of Matatiel, the town where Nosicelo was born and raised. His name is Momelezi Mbedla. We also have in our midst the executive deputy mayor of Buffalo City, Councillor Helen Neil May. We are grateful that you could all drop the things that you are doing and you came to share with us this moment where we say goodbye to our beloved student that passed on. It is indeed with a very heavy heart that I stand before you here and share in this profound sense of sadness, the moments that we, are recalling and saying farewell to our student. This is indeed the most darkest period in the history and in the life of the University of Fort Hare. Just a few days ago, Nosicelo Mtebeni was amongst us, was walking down the corridors of the University Faculty of Law, was engaging fully in all the teaching and learning platforms that the university has developed for tuition over this COVID period, and now she is no more. And we are gathered all of here full of grief to say farewell to her. She has been a lot of things to a number of people. To the loving parents, she is still their beautiful, loving, brilliant daughter. she is still that little girl that they knew from the time she took her first breath into the world. It must be very devastating for them, more than we are all devastated. Theirs is 100 times more. Her future was looking bright. She was a student that was finishing the law degree, budding law practitioner, had dreams, and was going to be joined by the parents in celebrating critical milestones in achieving those dreams and aspirations as she went on. All of that was cut short. We are so sad as the University of Fort Hare for this. When children are born, we expect as parents, as adults, that they will live beyond our time. They are supposed to be our legacy. They're not supposed to be our past. They should not be our past. It is unnatural that we're losing young people in this fashion. The University of Fort Hare is currently going through a really dark patch. Just a few days after losing Nosicelo in this fashion, we also lost another young life at the university, and also conditions that I can at this point say are not natural. It's unnatural causes that led to the passing of that other young life. We are really sad, particularly for the fact that all of this is happening in the month when we are supposed to be celebrating our women, when the University of Fort Hare is embarking on a number of programs just to do that, to honor our women and to ensure that their place in our society is kept where it's supposed to be. So this is really a deep shock to the university. I want, though, to appreciate all the support that we've been getting from the friends of the University of Fort Hare. We've gotten a number of messages of support from all over the world, basically, which were saying they are with us and with the Mtebeni family. This ceremony, because we know that we are under the COVID restrictions, there's just a few of us in the room, but there is millions of people watching it throughout the world. This service is being broadcast through the social media channels. It is covered by some television stations, and we are appreciative of all the people that want to share the sorrow that we are in at this moment. At this point, I would like to pause and thank the program director for giving me a chance to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reg, for the words of welcome. I'm now going to call upon Professor Tandi Kyama from the Faculty of Law to read the obituary of Miss Nosicelo Mtebeni. Over to you, Prof.
kufika kuwe. Amen. Thank you, Dr. Rungani. Professor Buhlungu and the entire management team, the registrar, Mr. Zuma has made things very easy for me. So without breaking the protocol, the registrar has made things very easier for me, and without breaking the protocol, let me just say, Molweni. Molweni Mandakwethu. We are so very tense. You will excuse me. Today is the day not to mourn, but the day is to celebrate the short-lived life. That life was not short-lived, it was shortened. As we read the brief biography of Miss Nosicelo Mtebeni, we will read the two versions, both in English and Xhosa, as they appear in the program. I would request those who are able to rise to do so. Let's start with English. The obituary of Nosicelo Mtebeni. Nosicelo Mtebeni was born in Vosloorus in the Gauteng province on the 13th of April in the year 1998. Nosicelo was not only born, she pursued her studies and started her primary education at Naledi Junior Secondary School and went on to matriculate at Tulang Senior Secondary School in the year 2016. In the year 2017, she went on because she never wanted to die, being a baby that struggled to get out of the bathwater. She went on to register for the Bachelor of Laws degree here at our prestigious university, the University of Fort Hare, at the East London campus. Nosicelo was in the process of completing her final year of study at the time of her passing. Nosicelo is survived by her parents, Tata Ukholisile and Mama Untombazandile Mtebeni, her brothers and other relatives. Rest in peace, Mazibuko. Rest in peace, Mlambo. Rest in peace, Mwelase. Rest in peace, Takasa. Rest in peace, Gian. I thank you. Let us read now the Xhosa version. Amaqabantshintshi ngobomi buka Nosicelo Mtebeni. Nosicelo Mtebeni wazalwa ngomhla we-13 nyanga ka-April ngo-1998 ezalelwa eFosloras eGoli. Zalwa ngumama wakhe uNtomzandile Mtebeni uMadonsa kunye notata uKholisile Mtebeni Mazibuko. Nosicelo uyawufunxa ulwazi eqalisa amabanga akaphansi kwisikolo saseNaledi Junior Primary waze wadlulela eThulang Senior Secondary School eyokwenza amabanga akhe aphezulu. Ngomnyaka ka-2017 uye wenjenjeya wawela inciba esiya kwenza izifundo zakhe zomthetho kweli ziko lethu lemfundo ephakamileyo University of Fort Hare apha eMonti. Uthe selapha eMonti egqibezela izifundo zakhe zomthetho wafikelwa ligongqongqo lokufa lo mnyaka ugqibela. Ushiya ngasemva Nosicelo abazali bakhe, ushiya abantu yakwabo, ushiya izihlobo uNosicelo nawo wonke umuntu amthandayo nomaziyo. Ngoko ke phumla ngoxolo Nosicelo, phumla Mazibuko, phumla Mlambo, phumla Mwelase, phumla Xakasa, phumla Jiana. Lo ummiselo ubungowakho. Enkosi.
Thank you, Prof. As you said, it should be a day for celebration of the life of our beloved student, daughter, friend. I'm just going to sing one verse to just lighten the mood. As Prof said, this is the last time as a university will be celebrating this life. Ezulwini ulaula wena, emhlabeni siulaula wena, zonke izinto zinana kuwe, Nkosi yama, Nkosi, Baba siyakudumisa, siyakudumi, Mama siyakudumi, Nkosi, Nkosi yama, Nkosi. I'm going now to call upon Sis Ndibi Mayepa, Deputy Registrar, and also Dr. Lubis the Dean of the Faculty Floor to read the message of condolence. Ezulwini ulala wena, emhlabeni ulala wena, zonke izinto zilawula nguwe, Nkosi yami, Nkosi.
Good morning. The university has been overwhelmed by messages of support and condolences. This is deeply appreciated. I will now read extracts from a few of these. From the Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation. The Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, Dr. Blade Nzimanze, is deeply saddened by the brutal killing of Ms. Nosicelo Mtebeni. The Minister passes his heartfelt condolences to her family, friends, management and fellow students at the University of Fort Hare. He says, I denounce such barbaric and shameful acts committed against women, both in our institutions of learning and in society in general. Our society cannot continue harboring such disgraceful people and criminals who are hell-bent on tearing the moral fiber of our society apart. What is so saddening is that the suspect would even commit such a gruesome act in the month in which we mark and celebrate Women's Month. The Minister stated that the Department of Higher Education and Training remains committed to creating a safer and caring post-school education and training environment, with a concerted effort on safety and protection of all on our campuses, in particular female students and staff. The Minister further said, by working together, by confronting difficult challenges, and by mobilizing everyone in and around our institutions, we shall create a society where everyone, especially women, feels safe and are safe at all times and in all places. A message from University of South Africa. To the Mtebeni family and the University of Fort Hare students, its leadership and the community, Professor Sibongile Mutwa, the chairperson of University of South Africa, expressed her deepest condolences on behalf of all vice-chancellors of the 26 universities and the entire university sector. The entire university sector is in shock today as we reflect on this tragic event that resulted in the senseless killing of Ms. Mtebeni. It is incomprehensible that as we celebrate Women's Month, the perennial and unrelenting violence against women continues unabated. The chronic and unwarranted onslaught on the women of South Africa and their plight must be taken seriously by every South African. A message from the UFH Eastern Cape Alumni Chapter. The UFH Eastern Cape Alumni Chapter's EXCO is shocked and deeply saddened by the news of the untimely and unjust passing of Ms. Nosicelo Mtebeni. We convey our sincere condolences to the Mtebeni family and members of the UFH community who are affected by this inhumane act of brutality. We vehemently condemn such senseless acts of violence in our society. This Women's Month, we call upon all men to introspect, seek help, and stand against gender-based violence. We cannot live in a society where women and children are at risk of being harmed by those who are meant to protect and value them. A message from Stand as One Against Gender-Based Violence, a University of Fort Hare association. As Stand as One Against GBV at UFH, we hope and pray that Nosicelo's family finds strength amidst their and our heartbreak. Ironically, the theme for Women's Month reads Generation Equality, realizing women's rights for an equal future. Yet Nosicelo has been denied to play the role of being part of a generation equality due to conditions in the quickening that need improvement, as the university has pointed out. Making the neighborhood safer for all residents is long overdue. As such, as Stand as One, we plead with the mayor and BCMM to make this a reality. Otherwise, how many of our students are going to have their right to life, health, security of person violated before action is taken? The death of one student is one too many. These are dark days for all of us, and what we need to do at this time is to work together to do better in terms of our fight against gender-based violence and femicide. But in order to do that, we also need to do some introspection as a university on how we can improve the lives of our students and staff. Not just when it comes to GBV, but in terms of all kinds of violence. Currently, there are many unanswered questions. Public relations at Fort Hare campaigns against GBV. The GBV policy at Fort Hare tries to prevent GBV. The students at Fort Hare unite against GBV. Our leaders agree we must do more to stop GBV. So where are we going wrong? We should ask this question on this dark day so that we can do better as a university. As stand as one against GBV at Fort Hare, we undertake to work even harder in our fight against GBVF. We dedicate our continued struggle to Nosicelo on this sad day. And while we provide comfort and support her family and friends in this dark time, we will do our very best to fight against any form of GBVF in and outside of our university to prevent more murders such as this one from occurring. Lala Nguxolo, Nosicelo.
Ndiyazibusela ku-Vice Chancellor nabonke abantu abakhoyo endlini. Lena i-message ivela kuNkosi Zolile Benz Ncamashe, the spokesperson and advisor to Rharhabe Kingdom. Ibhalwe ngolu hlobo. Izinto ezithetheleleyo zezikaYehova uThixo wethu, izinto ezikhilekileyo zezethu, zezonyana bethu kude kuse ephakadeni. Deuteronomy 29 verse 29. Namhlanje isizwe sonke sikaRharhabe nelizwe lonke loMzantsi Afrika lithukombisile, lidandathekile, lingqukulekile sisiheleku seshwangusha lesithwakumbe esigubungele eliziko. Kube ngokukodwa kusapho lwakaMthebeni ngokulahlekelwa ngesiquphe lisabuka intyatyambo yabo. Idladlazana lesonyazana isiqushuqushwana uNosicelo. Ubomi bakhe buphelele ezandleni zomgebengu wendladiya yesigwinda esingenalusini nasazela siphilileyo. Egameni lekumkani yesizwe samaRharhabe, amabandla akulondlovu kaNtsinga kaNogwayi, ukumkani uJonguxolo, Sandile, avululwandle, sivakalisa uvelwano olunzulu olusuka kumazantsi enhliziyo kusapho lakwaMthebeni neziko likhokhelwa ngunjingalwazi ubuhlungu zibula sihlahla somnqumo. Le nhlungu inambetheyo yethu sililanani sinethemba lokuba ungubenkulu kaSonoyi kaGaba uzayifukama anithwale kule nhlungu kuba nguye kuphela ongumthomo wentuthuzelo. Sigxola emswaneni nani sisazi kokuba ukubulaleka kwenu akulambathi enkosini. Menze aphumle ngonaphakade uNosicelo. Nkosi, umkhanyisele ngokhanyiso olungapheliyo. Enkosi.
Donyuka nalo ndilubambe nezandla ndiyongena nalo ekhaya Yesu. Ukolo lwami ndonyuka nalo, ukolo lwami ndonyuka nalo ndilubambe nezandla ndiyongena nayo ekhaya Yesu lwini. Thank you very much to Sis Ndibi and Dr. Lubis. I'm now going to call upon our SRC representative to come and also give us a message of support. Mr. President.
Let me take this opportunity to greet the VC, the UFH management, the convocation, the SRC, and everyone who is here who has managed to sacrifice their time to come to this memorial service. And most importantly, let me greet the family of Mtebeni. As a parent, when you receive a child as a gift from God, you thank God, because from that particular day you know that there is someone who's going to change the situation which you are faced with from back home, that you are faced with as a family. When a child is growing up, the parents seek to guide and monitor the child's growth so that the child can grow up to be an adult, a responsible adult, a child that will benefit mostly the society and also the family as a whole. As our parents, you always pray for us to be better people. You pray for us to be protected from all the evil things that are affecting our generation. And most importantly, you pray to God for our protection as we are living in a dangerous world that is full of vultures and evil spirits. As children, we always pray to God that He must keep you safe as our parents and protect you from all the illnesses that some of them are aligned with the illnesses that come with age. As your children, we have this little prayer, this short little prayer that we usually say, Bawo, ndicela ungcinela abazali bam. God, please keep my parents so that they can see my success and enjoy the fruits of their hard work. Nosicelo, as a student, she also had this short, powerful prayer. Ukuba Nkosi, ndicela undigcinele abazali bam. Bakwazi ukubona imisebenzi yezandla zabo. Bakwazi ukubona into yokubana ingqeqesho abayifake kum iphumelele entweni na. Nosicelo, as a student, she also had this prayer. In this particular year, she was starting to have hope that this prayer will be realized as she was doing her final year in law. Nosicelo had dreams like any other student that is enrolled in any institution of higher learning. And part of her dreams was to change the conditions, injustices of this cruel world and to better the livelihood of her family. I believe that, like any other student, she wanted to make you proud, hence she ensured that she excelled academically as she was now doing her final year and she was about to go in the working place to fulfill all the dreams and aspirations of her family. It is unfortunate that the aforementioned aspirations are not going to be realized because of Aluta. The arrival of Aluta into Nosicelo's life did not come as a blessing, but it came as a curse, as he ensured that all the aspirations that Nosicelo and her family had will not be accomplished. In this country, we are faced with the pandemic, not the COVID-19, but the pandemic, which is the GBV, gender-based violence. We are in a country where men are killing women day in, day out. And this pandemic needs to be fought with from all angles and from all angles and in all forms. The pandemic is not accepted in our society. We are living in a society where men are no longer treating women as their sisters, where men are no longer treating women as their mothers, but instead they see them as objects. I believe that if we can all unite as a society and fight this pandemic, we can be able to defeat it. I would like to call upon each and everyone in this memorial service to fight the gender-based violence in all forms. We must do this for Nosicelo and for all the other fallen souls. Nosicelo was gruesomely killed in the name of love. Madoda, lento iqala apha kuthi kwaye izawupheliswa kwasithi. Ngalamazwi ndihlaba ikhwelo ndithi masulwe lo mkhuba uzotsho utshabalale unaphakade. On behalf of the SRC, I would like to plead with everyone to pray for the University of Fort Hare, to pray for us as students whom are enrolled at the university. There is a dark cloud that is hanging and lurking in our institution. A dark cloud that we have tried to light away with candles and prayers, like the previous candlelight services that we've had. Asingethandi kuba siqhubeke sibhubha ngokungaqondakaliyo ngenxa yeshwangusha esijongene nalo singabafundi babano college. Njengamntu ke okhulele kwikhaya elithandazayo, kuthiwa zonke izinto ezenzekayo emhlabeni zenzeka ngentando kaYehova. Ewe, ndiyazi akulula ukuphulukana nomuntu umthanda, ingakumbi kumzali uphulukane nomntana omzalayo sele ulibona ithemba, sele usithi uqibile. Kodwa ke ndithi tutwini kusapho lakwaMtebeni, akuhlanga lungehliyo. Ndithi manicele unikhapha ngalamazwi kaDavide kwiNdumiso 34 verse 18. Uthi uDavide, uThixo usondele kubanhliziyo zaphukileyo, abo bamoya utyumkileyo nabanhliziyo zityumkileyo uyabasindisa. Buninzi ububi obulehlelayo ilungisa, ke uYehova ulihlangula kubo bonke. Elilizwi linikhumbuza umama Maria mhla wayibukele unyana wakhe ethathwa kuye engathandi. Tutwini kusapho lakwaMtebeni. Ndiyabulela.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for those message of support. I remember last week when we were inaugurating the new SRC, I had a 1-minute talk with Sindibi as the chairperson of the gender-based violence task team. And I was just briefing here, on the strides we have made, in establishing the GBV unit. And she just said to me, you know what, I love the idea of the unit being established, but I would want a day when we don't even need that unit, because we don't want any case of GBV. So my question again also, I want to repeat that. What are we doing wrong? Because as a university, we are trying to make sure that our environment is safe for everyone. I'm now going to call upon the Convocation President, Advocate Andy Lemini, to come and also give us some few words of support.
To the Deputy Chair of the Council, my colleague Dr. Koyan, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Fort Hare, Zibula, the Deputy Minister, Puti Manamela, the SRC as led by the President, the MEC of Sport, Arts and Culture in the province, the Mtebeni family, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to express my deepest gratitude. We have lost a student who was soon going to be a member of the Fort Hare alumni. The message of the convocation today is clear, that the spirit of Nosicelo shall never die while we live. We are here today to hand back to you, the Mazibuko family, the living spirit of Nosicelo. It is true, Program Director, that as the country is battling to control an unprecedented stigma that has caused our country to stigmatize the coronavirus, we're also faced with another pandemic that has anointed itself as a shame of the nation, the gender-based violence. Minister, as government makes it compulsory and mandatory that when people walk in the street or they're in any public area, they must wear a mask. I think as parents also must make it mandatory and compulsory that any girl child, when you meet a man in the street who's smiling at you, who looks at you, who's well dressed, who's smelling nice, who says, I love you, you must look at him and say, you're probably my potential killer. Dr. Lubisi, probably as a man, I should keep quiet because all men are keeping quiet about gender-based violence. But the lawyer in me refuses to keep quiet. I foresee that once upon a time we'll be faced, or we are going to face the highest courts of history, that all men in the country have failed to act positively while we had the moral duty to do so. And those who are legal minds understand a crime of failure to act. It is not enough as a man that we are going to say, it is not all of us who are doing this. It is not enough as a man to stand up to say, but it was not me. It is not enough as a man to stand up and say, not in my name. That idiom has long expired. We must stand up and become drivers of change in our own little spaces. That is the message that we are bringing as convocation. Vice Chancellor, in our meeting yesterday as convocation, with all the chapters across the country and in the SADC, we took the following decision. And the same decision we have communicated to the family, that for the duration of our term in the next 4 years, we want to adopt Nosicelo's family and provide the support that is needed. From the meeting of yesterday till to date, amongst ourselves as executive of convocation, we have made contribution to the tune of 150,000 from ourselves. And we have appointed individuals who are going to run and make sure that we fundraise through the Forte Foundation, and will make sure that it is done with dignity. We have appointed Dr. Klaas, Vice Chancellor. We have appointed Dr. Mawisa, Mr. Mteza Abuya, as well as Mishek Mugabe to run and make sure that we fundraise enough money to support the family for the duration of our term. It will be done through the needs analysis and in consultation with the family. We are, Vice Chancellor, also planning to approach the university with regards to the legacy project that will be named after Nosicelo. We know that the university is always welcoming of good ideas, and even in this one will not be an exception. In closing, I want to say a man of power is feared. A man of wealth is envied. A man of genius is admired. But only you of character, you are trusted. I'm making a call to all men in South Africa today to accept the challenge and become a man of character. We are saying as convocation, the spirit of Nosicelo shall never die while we live. And we are here today to hand back the living spirit of Nosicelo. Lala ngotolo mwelase. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Advocate Mini. I'm now going to call upon Dr. Rihanna Olisvan, the member of the task team for the GBV policy implementation for the university.
Thank you. I'd like to say thank you for giving us this opportunity, and our deepest condolences to the family. I stand before you today as a member of the UFH policy, GBV policy implementation task team. In our university's policy, we commit ourselves to fight against GBV and femicide. And this is admirable, and our policy is a good one. But a policy is not enough. A policy has to translate to real benefits and must result in effective measures to address GBV that plagues not only our university, but our country. This is not a time to point fingers. This is also not a time to deny accountability. but to do some serious introspection on how we can do better. We need to be more proactive, do more awareness and educational campaigns, organize more training to our staff and our students and the broader community. We need to do everything possible to combat GBV with the input from Fort Hare management, students and staff, as well as local, provincial and national government. There is a problem in our society, not just with GBV and femicide, but with violence in general. This violence is most often perpetrated by men. To eradicate toxic masculinity, we must rethink, rework, and reimagine our society. We have to imagine a world where masculinity is nurturing, where masculinity is kind, where masculinity is caring. We have to interrogate our socially accepted roles and our culture, our institutional culture, as well as our culture as South Africans. Men are a high-risk category for suicide and mental health issues. And this should cause us concern. Could it be that the current norms of masculinity are in fact harming men and women, because as a result they harm women? Men are expected never to show weakness or show their emotions. Men are not supposed to cry. Boys don't cry. Poor mental health worsens GBV, and we have even more reason to start working on ways in which we can and ought to support everyone's mental health. In addressing GBV, we need to focus on mental health support. COVID-19 has forced everyone to make massive changes. And this has confirmed that it is possible to make drastic changes in order to deal with the challenge. And thus, it is also possible to make drastic changes in order to deal with the pandemic of gender-based violence. As a task team, we pledge that we will work harder so that the objectives of the GBV policy becomes a platform for real change, and thereby to ensure that Fort Hare takes the lead in the fight against gender-based violence, not only in our university, but in the broader community, so that these kinds of tragedies do not happen anymore. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rihanna. I'm now going to call upon the Dean of the Faculty of Law, Dr. Nombulelo Lubisibisana. Over to you, Doc.
Senzenina, 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 senzenina. Minister, Deputy Minister of Higher Education, Puti Manamela. MEC, Sport, Recreation and Arts and Culture, Ms. Feza Kangoman. The Mayor, the Deputy Mayor of Buffalo City, Councillor Helen Neil-May, the Deputy Chairperson of University Council, Dr. Siphokazi Koyana, the Vice Chancellor, and the leadership of the University of Fort Hare, the entire university community of Fort Hare, and also the entire country. Let me look at this side. To the family of Nosicelo. Thank you so much, Dada and Mama, for coming here and be with us in this day. We are deeply sorry. We are deeply sorry. We are in pain, just like you. I stand here today as a mother to Nosicelo, as a mother to the entire Faculty of Law, and I would like us to remember her as our student and for who she was. The murder of Nosicelo Mtebeni was gruesome, and it is extremely sad that it happens during this month, this Women's Month. We are saddened by the continued acts of gender-based violence, including femicide, in South Africa. We always talk about our constitutional rights, but we are being abused, we are murdered, we are raped. Now, it raises something in my head. Are these rights being protected enough? Can I claim my right to dignity? Not as yet, when we are being abused, murdered, and raped. When we walk in our streets of Alice, Kingstown, to our villages of Nosicelo, Kwelecha, East London, Johannesburg, all over in our country, we don't feel safe as women of this country. Now, Nosicelo is gone, and she will remain in our memories. What I would like to say, she left us with a task. We have a responsibility as lawyers of this country, as community leaders, as leadership in higher education sector, as student leaders, to be at the forefront on the fight against gender-based violence. Let us join hands and create a safer environment for every woman in our country. Let us refuse to be victims of abuse and gender-based violence. Let us refuse to be the weaklings in the enjoyment of our rights. Let us refuse to be treated with less status as equal citizens of our country. Law students, I'm coming to you. You were in class, same class with Nosicelo. You share the same residence with Nosicelo, and I know it very well. It is difficult for all of you, but I want to encourage you to come forward and condemn the barbaric acts of gender-based violence. I want you to ensure that no woman or man is abused in front of you. I want you to promise me that you will say no to acts of domestic violence. In the name of Nosicelo, not again, not again, and not again. My dear ladies, Nosicelo's departure affected all of us. And now it is the time to leave our comfort zones and stand up for one another. Let us protect each other. We need each other. Umuntu ngumuntu ngabanye abantu. When you are there alone, you are vulnerable. Anything can happen to you. But when you are with others, you feel safe. It is happening, and it is true. Let's open our hearts and say it loud. No to gender-based violence. We need to sing a song that used to be sung by our own mothers. If you can remember, when you were still young, those of my own age, you will be sent to go and fetch something at the neighborhood by your mother. The only thing your mother will do will open up the door at night and say to you, "Ndiyakubona." You will open it up, and as you move into, you will say to you, "Go." There's nothing that will happen to you. Ndiyakubona. I want us as women of this country to sing that song so that everyone closer to us, everyone far away can be confident, to gain the confidence, because he knows and she knows that there is somebody who is saying, "Ndiyakubona, ndiyakubona, ndiyakubona." Mama Dons, Tatu Mtebeni, not only you who has been robbed of a daughter, but I want you to know that the entire nation has been robbed of a judge, of a constitutional court, the highest court in the world, in our country. Nosicelo, like any other girl of her age, had dreams. You shared that with us, that your daughter had dreams. But today, you are here to witness that the passing of your daughter has brought our country together. You are not alone. You are with us. Nosicelo will remain in our hearts forever. Ndifuna ukuthi tata no mama makube madonsa ngezinsuku benilikunye nathi apha nisomelezele. Ndizive ndomelele kakhulu. Ndicela ke nimkhulule uMasibuko, nimkhulule uMamlambo, nimkhulule uMwelasi, nimkhulule uXhakasa uJiyani, ahamba yokuphumla ebekuzele emhlabeni kona ukugqibile. Yonke eseleyo isele kunye nathi. Enkosi.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lubis. For me, it's about the men. I think you are friends with the perpetrators. You are relatives with those perpetrators. As I was walking in the streets of social media, whenever there is violence against women, you hear some men saying, "What did she do?" As if anything justifies violence. Kwanele madoda. It's your responsibility to stop this. I'm now going to call upon the Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University of Fort Hare, Professor Sakela Buhlungu, to address the congregation. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ungane, and good morning, everyone. I'm not going to speak today. This is an opportunity for others to speak. And also apologies for not going through the usual greetings. I've had occasions to greet everyone. Apologies for that. I'm not going to speak today because it's an opportunity for others to speak. For those people whose names are on the programs to speak. For those people who are watching this thing in the media to speak. It's not for me. I've had my own time. I've been speaking to TV and the media and so on. This is not about me. We've done what we can do. Let me begin by thanking everyone for making it at very, very short notice. Very short notice. But something of this nature, obviously, is something that calls for that people drop what they're doing and come in and be here. And so once again, I would really, really love to thank everyone. Deputy Minister Butimandamela, thank you very much for making time. MEC Komonye, thank you very much for making the time on behalf of the province. Deputy Mayor Neil May, thank you very much for making the time. And of course, us, Dr. Koyana, we led by you, by the Council of the University. I will not, my colleagues, the staff and the students, they know. I'm not going to go through the usual greetings. Mine is very, very briefly to say this is an unusual moment. It's not about us, as I said, it's about Nosicelo. It's about her. And my appeal for this moment, and the funeral is not going to be, I believe, it's going to be not this weekend, so it's going to be a few days more. My appeal is simple. Let's step back from ourselves. It's not about you, it's not about me. This is about this child. Next to her, it's about that family. Step back. Step back. It's not about you. It's about them. We need and we should give Nosicelo a dignified send-off. Even those of us who are not going to be able to go to the funeral, let's keep it dignified all the way. Let's keep it dignified in terms of what we post on social media, in terms of what we say, when the temptation is irresistible and those television cameras and microphones are in front of you. Resist the temptation. When that camera phone of yours is there, resist the temptation. When people share those pictures, resist the temptation. We are still, despite all of this, we're still human beings. And we want to pull ourselves back from the edge. Let's pull ourselves back Because if we don't, if we allow that camera phone to just press share, 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 that takes us down a slippery slope beyond what is human and below what is human. Reverend Jingwa, andiglibalanga nabefundisi. Andiglibalanga sithethile yonke into. Mandi address nje le ndawo. They say le nto ifuna umthandazo eFort Hare, le nto ifuna cleansing. I'm going to come to that. And I'm going to say for once, this is something that has come up many times over at Fort Hare. Students, you know what? This year, let's do it. Whether it's the Christian faith or other faiths or traditional religions and so on and so on, let's do something. Let's do it. But, and I'm going to come to the but. So, this is about Nosicelo. I like Dr. Albisi. There's one take home line for me, is that we've been robbed of a future constitutional court judge here. There's a child who came in 2017, the same year that I started, entered through the foundation program, deputy minister, and was going to finish the degree in regulation time. And she was going to join the ranks of eminent Fortarians in the legal fraternity. Eminent, and I don't need to say anymore. They're all over the place. They're leading society. She was going to be joining that very select section of our society. It's sad. The issue, really, and I know it's very easy when the hearts are so sore, when the wound is so raw and so deep. It's very easy for us to focus here. It's very easy for us to try and find the answers within a meter of where we sit. Yeah, if Fort Hare does not care, or if only this and if only that. I'm saying park all of that. The picture, this is big. This is much bigger. And I want to isolate two things. I hope this gets taken in the spirit in which it is said. One of being constructive. We can have the cleanest, the most powerful gender-based or anti-GBV policy at Fort Hare. And we can have the most efficient anti-GBV unit, which Dr. Olsen has spoken about. And I agree, those are the steps, and we are well on track. We can have the best, but we are not an island. We're not an island. Gate. The minute the person steps out of the gate, GBV policy are gaining up a gate. The issue is this, and let's name it. And again, I'm saying this in the most constructive, with the most constructive intention. Because I've said we now need a new kind of partnership. It's not going to be for Fort Hare alone. It's not going to be for Fort Hare with our line department, the Department of Higher Education and Training alone. No. We need a broad-based partnership. Now, but before we do, let's name the problem. Let's name the problem. The first part of the problem has been named by speakers here. It's gender-based violence. It's a social system and social structures that are age-old, kind of age-old social structures that make it acceptable for men to dominate, for men to use violence, to do all of these things. So the law must take its own course and follow up the perpetrator. But no amount of big insults at him are going to resolve the problem. If the court sends him away for 15 years, 30 years, whatever, the problem is going to remain. GBV. let's not lose sight. Let's keep focus. That's the issue. So varsity partnerships, it's partnerships oriented towards that bigger issue. And it's got layers. It's got layers. And people buy into it in different, it gets reproduced in different ways all the time. All the time. Yeah, but on social media is worse. It reproduces these things. Those kind of jokes that people kind of spread about very easily, very casually. That is GBV being reproduced. That is it. It's that joke that people throw about this about men, this about women. That's the first part though. That's the first part of the problem. The second part is where we are. Where we are. As I said, the problem is not just inside, it's also outside. Let's face it, for as long as we have a Quigney, for as long as in East London and the Southern Node, for as long as we have a Sunnyside in Pretoria, for as long as we have a Hillbrow in Johannesburg, and I can go on and on and on, we're going to have repeats of these things. We're going to have repeats of these things. And in Gogo and Saigi authorities, Nentondon, Sonke, it's our role. Let's confront that problem. Let's name it, man. The issue is this. A Quigney, a Southernwood, a Hillbrow, a Sunnyside plus. That is a metaphor for bigger things, for drugs and for drug dens, for all sorts of other things. Those are the things that we're dealing with. These families, they send their children here. There's nothing they can do to protect their children. There's nothing we can do. Let's deal with that problem outside. No amount of insult against this or that individual. These are not individual issues. They are social issues and social structures. That's the issue. For as long as we don't grasp that, the time for Kwandelemva is up now. And the time, like one speaker said here, for finger pointing is out. The thing now is, let's sit down. We are setting the ball rolling in a positive way. The Deputy Vice Chancellor for Institutional Support, Dr. Van Heerden, is or will be writing a letter to Buffalo City to meet and talk. And talk in a constructive, how do we move forward? How do we move forward? In East London, we've got about 7,000 students here, this campus. 7,000 students. And these things, Zienzek. As I move to conclude, Program Director, I just want to underline there for this question of these partnerships for change. For change. Let's change society in a real way, in a meaningful way. This thing caught us, it blindsided us in a way. We had embarked on a program to focus attention on Women's Month. We had done that. But also even that is part of a bigger project. We're saying we're renewing this university, 2020, 2030. That's what we're doing. We're doing all sorts of things. We're trying to energize, we're trying to reclaim the legacy of this 105-year institution. That's what we're doing. And so just then, this thing happens. This thing happens. It sets us back in that sense. Because EGBV, or rather the fight against GBV, is part of that renewal. So yes, it's tragic for us, it's sad, it's something that we don't like. Before I talk about my final point, there is, and I need to say this because it's out in the media, as if this gruesome murder was not sufficient. We heard about this on Thursday. 2 days later, on Saturday, at 11:30, another young person died. Whether he was pushed, whether he jumped, but the fact of the matter is that the person fell off the 12th floor of a residence that we lease here in town and died. It's a complex matter. It found us already kind of at a very advanced stage of preparing for this. So, that's another thing. Again, we need to ask deep questions there. The Dean of Students of the university is engaged in processes of engaging with that family and thinking of ways of remembering that other young life. It's a different process, and we're very much on top of it. There's a delegation that's going out after this, led by the Dean of Students, to continue, because we're already in touch, to continue engagements, because the funeral might happen sooner than that of Nosicelo. We have, many people have spoken. Advocate Mini, your comments and the activities of alumni of the university coming to the party are noted and are most welcome. And I think many others, there are many other initiatives. And I will not spell them out here, except to say one of the initiatives is that the Chancellor of the University, Advocate Nosicelo Mtebeni, called me to arrange a delegation by a team of high-powered advocates who are part of a group called Pabasa. They are visiting the university next week to engage with us, but most importantly, to have a much closer session or set of sessions with the law faculty, Dr. Luisi, and with law students. Once again, to talk to them during this time. And you'll remember that Advocate Mtebeni is the Chancellor of the university as well. As I conclude, then, we have decided to memorialize Nosicelo in many ways and let 1,000 flowers bloom. We're not regulating, controlling that. Let people do it. Let them do it with dignity and sensitivity. What we had done as part of Women's Month, we had decided to honor and recognize eminent women Fortarians on a mural in Alice. This was something that was happening anyway. And that process was happening, and then when this happened, we then said, with these eminent women that we're honoring, graduates from 2016 to now, we chose 3. We will then add a 4th panel to that mural with the face of Nosicelo. I think it's going to be this picture here. It is this picture here. It will be unveiled tomorrow. It's done already. It's done fully and only by our fine arts students, senior students and postgrad students. I was at the site yesterday. It is so touching. It's one of those, if we knew everything was up to us, we could have done it so that it happens here and now. But that's a different story. So we will do that, and the various other initiatives we're thinking about. I'm not going to talk about the support to the family. That's something private. It's not something for memorial services. But the university has been working with the family, with the family. But then, as I begin to make my appreciation and words of thanks, first of all, let me start with the South African Police Services. I don't know if they're in the room here. South African Police Services, they're really, and Brigadier Nkojane is, no, I don't know if he's here. Really a word of appreciation of the kind of cooperation that we need, especially around this, about the logistics, about informing us, about updating us, and about linking us up with others. So thank you very much to that. But also then, and the various people, I don't know where to start, so this is in no particular sequence. Our Dean of Students, Mr. Lufuno Shigudu, who started on the 1st of July in the job and was thrust straight to the forefront of this, and has been working with multiple parties, with the SRC this side, with the family this side, with the SAPS the other side, and so on. He really is I'm not even sure he's in the room because he's doing all the things and so on. But the Dean of Students has staff there, and I just need to acknowledge them all, and I will not name them individually, but all of them have come to the party in a big way. Whether it's the residence office, whether it's the counseling unit, and all of that. All the kind of things that we kind of put in place when the tragedy befell us. And they've happened from that Department of Student Affairs. Once again, thank you to all the staff there. And of course, there are other people to thank in the university. The department, the communications department and advancement, who are also responsible for organizing this event, including the technical people who make sure that this thing is live streaming. Thank you very much to them. And one other person, all the management people have been involved, but Dr. Van Heerden has been kind of at the forefront as well, working and supporting the Dean. And thank you very much once again. Dr. Albisi, when I heard the thing, I picked up the phone and I don't know what she was doing. I said, drop. I normally don't talk like that to people. But I said, whatever it is that you're doing, drop it. Get into your car and get yourself to quickly now. And I give you 15 minutes. And I think she was there in 13 minutes. Thank you very much, Dr. Albisi. There are many other people that we would like to thank. We would like to thank the clergy. Reverend Chingwa, always, it's not the first time, we always this with the rest of the clergy, and once again we're very appreciative. There are many other people who have sent in messages and who have sent in WhatsApps, who have sent in many others. The messages that are being read here are just the tip of the iceberg, the WhatsApps that we're going to collate and compile. There's tons of them. There are many of them. So once again, we'd like to thank everyone, and most importantly, to thank the family for the patience, for the strength and the resilience that they've shown in the time that they've been here. We said last night, we had a private moment where we spoke about this. I cannot even begin to imagine how they feel right now. But just to say, enkosi kakhulu umzi waseFort Hare unani ngeli xesha. Ndichile ke pha kubo ndathi enye into ebalulekileyo zebazi ngokuba uNosicelo ayisengowabo bodwa. She belongs to the country now. She belongs to the world. And I said, people will do all sorts of things. People will use it for pictures. Status pictures. Status pictures. Yes, she'll be on many. Her face will be there. Her face will be on our mural. Her face will be on TV. She, in death, tragic, gruesome as it is, she is now the star in a different way, because she's the person who's now saying to us, do something. When the statement esingapha kwamandla ethu sisonke apha. So ngalo mazwi ndizamubulela nabantu abazawuthetha kwiprogram bonke nje ngobuninzi babo. Enkosi kakhulu, siyabulela.
Thank you very much, Professor Buhlungu, for the words of comfort. He emphasized that this problem needs to be resolved as a society in oneness. As our motto at Fort Hare, we say together in excellence. It means that all of us, we need to take part to fight this. I'm now going to call upon the Deputy Chairperson of the University of Fort Hare Council, Dr. Spokas Koyana, to address us. Over to you, ma'am.
What I must learn, Prof, is that when you say I won't talk, I won't say anything, I must allow for a good 20 minutes. I took off my mask thinking that Prof won't talk, and then I had to sit there with no mask for 20 minutes. On behalf of Council, I extend my sincerest greetings to the Deputy Minister of Higher Education, Mr. Manamela, to all the present senior government officials of our province, to the Reverend Sipokazi Matini, the Vice Chancellor of the University, Prof. Buhlungu, senior executives of the university, and to all our esteemed guests, staff, and students who have come to pay their last respects to the late Ms. Mtebeni. The Council of the University is shocked and deeply saddened by this gruesome murder of Nosicelo. Council, together with the whole university family, mourns the death of Nosicelo, and we express our heartfelt condolences to the Mtebeni family. May they find comfort and healing through our prayers and support. Alomazwi ke bakwaMtebeni ndithi nilale ngenxeba. Council strongly condemns all acts of violence against women and assures students and staff that we will work with all stakeholders to ensure the implementation of the university's gender equality policies, to increase campus safety, and to make sure that justice is carried out. Council is very encouraged that the university management has already started collaborating with the South African Police Services and the Buffalo City Municipality to force them to commit to tackling the urban decay and overall concerns regarding safety in East London. I will not revisit the annual statistics on how many women are murdered by men in South Africa, or how our country ranks amongst those with the highest number of men who murder women. GBV is a human rights violation. This crime has a long history from the whole world, from ancient times. However, modern societies have the means, the technologies, and the capabilities to end this crime. So everything must be done to fight from all fronts and end it in our lifetime. So I'd like to take this moment instead to talk about practical things we can do to help implement some solutions. Last year, the President declared this our second pandemic. We know this because this violence against women is pervasive. It affects women of every class, age, sexuality, race, ability, religion, or other background. All of us know that the main driver of GBV is gender inequality, which operates on many levels, from social and cultural norms to economic and structural injustices. This means that we all have to roll our sleeves and be practical in how we move forward to eradicate GBV. Let me frame my suggestions by making a direct address to President Ramaphosa. I was fortunate to have dinner with him at a fundraising event for the Ramaphosa Foundation in 2017. When I asked him how exactly he was going to end the murder of women, he looked me in the eye and promised that when he became president, he would make sure that each and every government department develops a program against gender-based violence. So we are therefore challenging him and his ministers to treat this pandemic with the rigor and urgency it deserves. We applaud the government for its proactiveness, its responsiveness, and energy in fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. We need that same kind of commitment, responsiveness, and capability that the government has demonstrated against COVID-19 replicated in this war against GBV. The Minister of Health, his deputy and support entities in the health cluster are on TV every Friday, giving us detailed weekly progress reports on the government's war against COVID. So, if indeed the President accepts that the harming, raping and killing of people because of the agenda is our second pandemic, then we definitely need to hear such detailed weekly reports on TV from the government's GBV cluster, telling us what each department has done, the provincial breakdown, where the sexual offences courts are located, and how much personnel they have, how many perpetrators have been arrested, how many have been convicted, how many victims have received shelter and counseling, and so on. In the same way that the government has developed an app to notify us if we're in close proximity to someone who is COVID positive, similarly, the government must maximize the use of the government CHEP app and other technologies to victims who must report cases, hotspots, and to track the goings-on in their communities. Mr. President, South Africa must adopt a strategy of zero tolerance against GBV. Having said that, it is the duty of each and every one of us as South Africans to help solve the problems. It is not the government that murders men and women because of their gender. It is people like you and me who exploit both our cultures and the weaknesses in the government's delivery of protection and other services to destroy those we consider weaker than us. Each citizen is thus obliged to be purposeful in helping our government and civil organizations that are committed to ending GBV. However, the reality is we often feel overwhelmed. We feel powerless in the face of these atrocities. What can we do, we ask ourselves? For starters, the family structures in our homes are a good place to teach our youth about gender equality. This is where we must teach our sons how to treat their intimate partners. Secondly, we can speak out and report cases as much as possible. Thirdly, we can put our money where our heart is by giving and donating money and skills to NGOs which focus on fighting GBV. These organizations help orientate and mentor young men. They provide women shelter from abuse and give them skills they can use to participate in the economy more actively. And so we ought to support them. Every rand counts if they are to grow and impact change more effectively and more efficiently. And this last suggestion is directed solely at men. It is premised on the fact that the economic inclusion of women is critical to their independence and self-reliance, and thus necessary to decrease their vulnerability to violence. Therefore, if you are a man and you are a leader in your family, you are a leader in your community or congregation, if you are a teacher or a principal in a school, if you are a soccer or other sport coach, if you are the village chief, the CEO of the company, the director of the organization, if you are a manager or assistant incumbent in any setting, what are you as a man doing to engage those under your care about how to end GBV? How are you upskilling women? How are you supporting women-owned businesses? What bursaries are you providing? What opportunities are you making available for women to better themselves and become economically independent? What are you doing? South Africa, it's time to stop talking and start doing something tangible to save women's lives. What are you doing? I'm challenging you. Do not let Nosicelo die in vain. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Spokazi. Now that the Deputy Chairperson of Council have said it, and it to kill and it no part two ends a photo of thanks in the middle of the program. After saying I'm not going to talk. I'm now going to call upon the Deputy Mayor of Buffalo City Metropolitan Municipality, Councillor Helen Nelmay, to come and address us. Welcome, ma'am.
Program Director, let me greet the mother and father of Nosicelo Mtebeni, the entire Mtebeni family, relatives and friends, Deputy Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, MEC of Sport, Recreation, Art and Culture, our Mayor of Matatiele, the Vice Chancellor and leadership from the University of Fort Hare, leadership of government and the Alliance, religious leaders present, non-governmental organizations present, students from the University of Fort Hare, and members of the community, ladies and gentlemen. We are gathered here today under very difficult circumstances for our metro, our province, and our nation. We are meeting here as a result of an extremely ununderstandable situation. About a week ago, a young Nosicelo was murdered by her boyfriend, a person that she was supposedly close to and in a romantic relationship with. No woman in this country knows that the person who comes to them seeking a relationship is the person that will end their life in such a horrific manner. For sure, the friends and classmates of Nosicelo never thought that her life would end in such a brutal manner and that being in a relationship would result in such a sad ending of a purposeful life and in the hands of a man. I'm sure many would agree that the killing of Nosicelo is a sour moment for not only the family but for the entire nation in the month we are celebrating of Women's Month. We are told that Nosicelo was such an inspiration, coming from Matatiele to realize her vision to becoming an attorney. This shows she was focused and had a vision and worked diligently to get to her final year. The act committed by her murderer is unimaginable, difficult to describe and difficult to understand. This is a shameful, gruesome act, and I have no words to describe it. The environment in our city and country is that of sadness and mourning due to this act of barbarity by men who are ideally supposed to ensure their safety. It is high time that we realize that we are facing a deadlier global pandemic, the pandemic of femicide perpetrated by men who believe that they have ownership of the woman's body. Violence against women is not about women's behavior, but about how men commodify women. In the memory of Nosicelo, let us find ways of better working together to fight the scourge of gender-based violence and femicide. We should create solid partnerships as government, women's rights organizations, universities, religious organizations, and law enforcement agencies. We have already met with the University of Fort Hare earlier this week in an attempt to find ways of collaboration in fighting the prevalence of gender-based violence in our city and also fighting crime and the proliferation of drugs. Our municipality is open to suggestions and to collaborative acts that will help reclaim our communities from thugs and perverts. This is a fight we cannot afford to lose. This year, the year of Charlotte Maxeke, realizing women's rights. I believe as leaders, it is time for transformation. As government leaders and civil society, we must address issues of gender oppression, patriarchy, sexism, racism, and structural oppression directly, if we want to create a conducive environment that enables women to take control of their lives, as well as ensuring their safety and protection. On behalf of our city, we want to send our condolences to the family of Nosicelo and relatives. Mr. and Mrs. Mtebeni, we feel your pain, and we want to assure you and your daughter you will always be in our thoughts and prayers. We will do everything in our power to ensure that women do not live in fear, as is the case today. Enough is enough. I thank you.
Thank you very much, our Deputy Mayor. I'm just going to shift the program. I'm going to ask the Deputy Minister for Higher Education, Science and Innovation, Ms. Buti Manamela, to come and address us. Welcome, Minister.
Thank you, Program Director. Let me extend our deepest condolences to the family and friends of Nosicelo, especially her father, Kholisile, and her mother, Ntombizandile. On behalf of our ministry, the Minister, and also on behalf of our government, we really want to send these heartfelt condolences to you. And we also want to say to you that this is also our loss, and I think many of the speakers have reflected on how we've been robbed of a future star of this nation. Now and then, the national anger is aroused when attention is brought to the gruesome violence and killing and rape targeted at women. The program director made a remark about how in the streets of social media, the answer is, well, the question is usually asked, what did she do to deserve this? And when this national anger is aroused, we all gather in aghast and collectively join in mourning and condemnation of the perpetrators of such violent act, or rather of the victims of such violent acts. And yet we conveniently forget that collectively as a society, especially we as men, are culpable to this atrocious crime. The list of women, especially students who have lost their lives to the barbarism of men, goes on. We remember Zolile Khumalo of Mangosuthu University was brutally murdered by her boyfriend in May 2018. We also remember Palisa Madiba of the University of Johannesburg, Jesse Hess of CPUT, Precious Ramabulana of Capricorn TVET colleges. And yet the question was asked even then, what is it that they've done to deserve this? And the only common factor between all of this is that they are women. And that those who are killed because of their gender or sexual orientation or sexual preference are precisely killed because they have a vagina. And some of those who are killed because they are gay are killed because they behave like those who have a vagina. And some of those who are killed because of corrective rape, because they are women or lesbian, are killed precisely because they sleep with people who have a vagina. In many cultures, as going through most of this, that families and tribes mourn because women gave birth to a girl, because the preference is that we should have a boy. And these are some of the cultures that have been built into our system that reinforces patriarchy, that reinforces male domination, that reinforces the fact that the male or the man remains superior than all other genders. And that anybody else who have a different genital is therefore less of a human being. And this is why we are where we are today. And today, as a nation, we're grappling with this blood-curdling detail of the murder of yet another young woman. And while we're still processing the news of the death of many women, and I must say that yes, collectively we mourn because some say it happened during National Women's Month. But the question that should go deeper into our conscience is, are we only mourning collectively this death because it happens on National Women's Month, because of the gruesomeness of the nature of the death, and yet we keep quiet when some of these things are happening behind closed doors, when we as neighbors, as street mates, as fellow students, as fellow workers, as we go into shebeens and everywhere else in social spaces, some of these acts happens on a daily basis. And yet we keep quiet and only choose to speak out because this was gruesome. I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have killed my girlfriend because she cheated on me. I wouldn't have spent the night with her dead body. I wouldn't have gone the following day to go and do some of the things that we've had as based on the police account. That we want to dissociate ourselves from those acts precisely because we believe that we're more human and more men, and that our exploitation and abuse and neglect and avoiding the fact that women are killed, and that we as a society collectively, and particularly we as men, are contributing towards that systemic violence that is targeted against women precisely because they were born with the wrong genitals. And we believe that we're entitled to that. So the story of Nosicelo is part of the broader story of women in our country who today have to live with the reality that they can be attacked, raped, and murdered anywhere and at any time of the day. And this story and many others reminded me of the words of Sierra Waters in her book titled Debbie, when she wrote, and I quote, "Today I wore a pair of faded old jeans and a plain gray baggy shirt. I hadn't even taken a shower, and I did not put on an ounce of makeup. I grabbed a worn-out black oversized jacket to cover myself with, even though it is warm outside. I've been conscious, or I've made a conscious decision lately to look like less of what I felt a male would want to see. I want to disappear, close quote. And these are loud words of women shouted in silence. I want to disappear. We robbed them of their agency, of their freedom, of their will to live, because we've become part of a gang whose last resort is that of satisfying the urge for violence and to target women. This fear of being attacked, of being raped, is part of the daily reality of women in South Africa, and we as men do not know what it means to exist in the body of a woman in South Africa, and in particular, the body of a black woman. And so, like Sierra Waters, many women feel that they want to disappear, and that's the only way within which they can survive, and they will not be killed, they will not be chopped up and be left on the corner street of some suburb in East London or anywhere else in the country. Like many other stories of violence against women by men, the story of Nosicelo forces us to ask ourselves serious questions about the type of society we are, where we make women feel that they should shrink themselves to the point of disappearance just so that they do not die, just so that they are not raped, just so that they are not killed. But most importantly, it forces us as men to ask ourselves even deeper and harder questions. Why is it that we have become the rapists and murderers of women in our society? For those who remain alive, remain targets for their survival, they just want to disappear. And once they are killed, we ask the question, what did they do to deserve it? At the heart of these questions are other more fundamental questions. Are we saying it is okay for young girls and women in South Africa to live in constant fear? Are we saying that it is fine for us to just wait for moments like this to express our collective outrage and thereafter go on with our lives? She lived in a community. She lived in a block of flats. There should have been neighbors. There should have been someone who had something that was odd. Did we just keep quiet and say it is a private matter? Do we just let it go and say that it is none of our business? Did we just say that it is across the wall and therefore we should not interfere? And we need to be asking ourselves this deeper question. Yes, the community, upon learning of all of this, informed the police, which is what we need to see happening in order for government to be able to do its part to end this atrocious murder and killing of women. But importantly, collaboration between communities and the police is going to be very, very crucial. As institutions of higher learning, we're part of the broader society. And that which happens out there is, or that which happens in our institution is but a reflection of what happens out there. And violence is going to be the order of the day if we do not deal with it everywhere else outside of our institutions of learning. And that students or young people in general mimic those things that they see out there. That young men and their attitude and their behavior is reinforced firstly by what they see at home, what they hear amongst their friends, and sometimes, in fact, in most instances, what gets reinforced by cultures and traditions, some of them we really need to take a look at. And I think that this is probably that wake-up call for us to ask ourselves these questions. Are some of the things which we continue to do, which place young men and men in general at this level in society of superiority, precisely because of the culture of patriarchy? Do some of those cultures, are they relevant? Should we not be asking ourselves whether those cultural practices should continue as they are? I mean, the most basic of those is the exchange of dowry and whatever its origin in our cultures is. To a certain extent, it has now meant that some men believe that precisely because they've paid for lobola for this woman, therefore they are entitled to do anything and everything with this woman, including, if needs be, and if they believe that they are justified, to take their lives. Yes, we've done a lot more as government. And I've had you Deputy Chair of Council. We've done more as government in order to ensure that we zoom in on the question of gender-based violence, including introducing a national a national strategic plan, investing resources, establishing regional courts which are specifically targeted at sexual offenses. We've reviewed legislation in this regard to ensure that harsher sentences are directed to those who commit sexual offenses. But it is not enough, or it is not only about setting up these institutions. It is about challenging the behavior which has become accepted. It is about ensuring that we collectively as a society systematically deal with the problem of patriarchy, for instance, that we systematically deal with the whole issue of gender-based violence, and that we begin to deconscientize, particularly men in our society, and deal with all of these issues around entitlement and all of that, which are as a result, or which as a result leads to the killing of women in our society. In a conclusion, I know Profs asked me if I can speak for 10 minutes. Yes, I can, even lesser. But in conclusion, Prof, we really want to applaud what the university has done. Firstly, in giving the necessary support to the family. And secondly, the kind of responses to the public that we've given. We understand that you've been under tremendous pressure as a university, particularly because of some of the misinformation that has gone out in terms of the role of the institution and the circumstances around the murdering of Nosicelo. We really want to applaud you and your team for what you've done. And we also really want to applaud the community who collaborated with the police. We want to applaud everyone who's played a role, particularly also including the provincial government, for the role that they've played in helping us to respond to this particular incident. Our attitude, over and above the policies and programs that we've put in place, our attitude has to be zero tolerance towards gender-based violence. We have to ensure that no student is killed in our campuses because their biggest crime is that they have a vagina. Our attitude must be that of zero tolerance towards gender-based violence in our society in general. We cannot have any more mother and father mourning because their daughter died at the hands of a patriarch, of a murderer, and to the point wherein we all join in this national collective anger and collective mourning. We have to turn this anger, we have to turn this mourning into action and say enough is enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister, for those words of comfort. We just play a music item whilst we wait the address from the MEC for Sports and Education, Arts and Culture, Ms. Feseka Komonyo. Can we have the music item, please? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, DJ. Mandi thatha lithuba ndibulise. Kuqala ndicela undivumele mphathi inkqubo ndibulise bazali baka Nosicelo. Inkosi kakhulu. Cela undivumele mphathi inkqubo ndibulise kuqala bazali baka Nosicelo. Mama Jana wakwaDonsa. Nonkongilele. Notata uMlambo nazo zonke izizalwane ezika Nosicelo ezikhoya phakathi kwethu. Ndibulise Deputy Minister Sandos ukuhamba of Higher Education, Science and Innovation. Ndibulise osodolophu abakhoyo usekela sodolophu waseBuffalo City kwakunye nosodolophu waseMatatiyeli. Ndibulise Deputy Chairperson we-Council yase-Kwano College, University of Fort Hare, kwakunye no-Vice Chancellor ne-Management yonke yase-University of Fort Hare, abafundi ne-convocation abafundi ngokhokhelwa yi-SRC. Ndibulisa bonke abantu abasibukeleyo kumakhasi zonxibelelwano, ndibulise nesifundisi. Ngemini ezinjena siye sibhideke siyiloze ngenxa yokudandatheka. Ndithetha ke emva ko-Deputy Minister nobethetha egameni likarhulumente, kodwa akuvumi ukuba ndithule. Kuqala ndivumele Program Director egameni lenkulu baphathiswa eliphondo oSikhamabuyane norhulumente wonke weliphondo kwakunye nabantu beliphondo laseMpuma Kapa uba ndithi nxe kusapho lakwaMtebeni, nxe kwi-community yakwa
after 12
kodwa kungenxa yentlungu esizibona siphantsi kwayo sinomsindo. And ndiyacinga into yobana izithethe ezingaphambi kwam zichazile into yobana umsindo esinawo akufanelanga siwujolise omnye komnye. Ela yilo xesha lokuba sikhombane sixekane, kodwa umsindo wethu sonke simele ukuwujolisa kwizenzo ezithe gqolo ukusidandathekisa, zenzo ezithe gqolo ukusehlela imihla nezolo.
ezinyakuthethwa ngazo kuba zenziwa ngamadoda azibiza ngokuba angootata ebantwaneni babo. Namhlanje sithe khunubembe sililizwe sonke kuba silahlekelwe inzwakazi eliseze ngobuso ezulu. Inzwakazi ebenikamva eqaqambileyo. Andikwazi uyicinga madonsa intlungu ophantsi kwayo. Kodwa ndiyafuna ukuthi kuwe akukho nto unoyenza ukusindisa uNosicelo ukuba angasweleki. Ndiyafuna ukutsho kuwe Jiyana ukuba njengotata ongumzali ayikho into ongayenzanga ukukhulisa uNosicelo, kwaye akukho apho nifeyile khona njengabazali. Naye ubengenokwazi ukuzisindisa. Izithethe ezithethe ngaphambi kwam sele zichazile ukuba inkulu le nto sijongene nayo. Eyona nto ingenza umsindo kakhulu kukuba imihla nezolo amadoda ajonga ecaleni. Amadoda aqhubekeka ahlale nezidlwengu nababulali angathethi into. The list some of these men say is not in my name. Ngelinye ixesha sikhomba urhulumente, sithi urhulumente ufanele uba enze ngcono ukhusela amanini. Akekho urhulumente onganepolisa elingangena endlini umzi nomzi likhusela umntu ongumama. Abantu abangoomama nabangabantwana abangamantombazana ubomi babo buthathwa ngabantu abafanele uba bayabakhusela, buthathwa ngabantu abathi bayabathanda. Imibuzo mininzi esizibuzayo, senzeni singabafazi simatshile, senze ii-hashtags sathandaza, sanxiba izinto apha uDeputy Minister athi siyazogquma ngazo ukuze singaboni. Kodwa loo nto ayisincedisi. For the longest time we are expected as women to defend ourselves. Some are even calling for us to learn defense tactics. Masiyofunda ikarati, masenzele. Amadoda adenzeni wona. Kutheni luxanduva lwethu singomama ukuba ngabana masizikhusele senze ntoni? Kutheni singenalungelo lokuphila ngokukhululekileyo? uNosicelo khangaye phaa phandle esitratweni ukuze adibane nombulali wakhe. Ubesendlwini. Inyanga nenyanga singaphambi kwamadoda siwacenga siwabongoza singamanini ukuba siyekeni kwanele. Izolo besisithi kwanele, ngoku Inene Mrhwetyana, ngoYerhels nabanye. Uminister wezamapolisa 4 days ago released statistics, crime stats in South Africa ziphezulu kakhulu. About 5,765 yabantu bulewe just in 3 months, and majority of those are women. These are not statistics. Gamagama abantu, ngabantu esiphila nabo. Ezi zinto Vice Chancellor zenzeka ekumelwaneni bethu, zenzeka in our families. Kutheni madoda niqhubekeka nihlala namadoda enze ezi zinto? Kude kube nini? Masibambaneni. Eli ayilodabi labantu abangomama kuphela, eli ayilodabi le-University of Fort Hare, eli ayilodabi karhulumente kuphela. Singeza pha ngaphambili sithi singurhulumente senza lena, singeza pha ngaphambili sithi siyi-University of Fort Hare, this is what we are doing. But have we really done enough? As a society, have we really done enough? Sikhulisa isizwe sinjani esingenasazela, isizwe esingenalo novelwano. Ndimapha phambi kwenu namhlanje ndithetha nani madoda eli loMzantsi Afrika. Sinicenga okokugqibela, siyaphela. Usihlalo we-convocation apha ngaphambili mhlawumbi sekulixesha lokuba siyabuliswa ngokusibaleke. Sisizwe sinjani apho abantwana bangazokwazi ukuba xa bebizwa ngabantu abangamadoda basondele ecaleni kwabo. Kwanele xa ndizawuhlala phantsi ndiyabawela ukushiya amazwi akwisithilelo chapter 21 verse 4, and it reads as follows: and he will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there will no longer be death, there will no longer be sorrow and anguish or crying or pain, for the former order of things has passed away. Wangumphefumulo kaNosicelo ngalala ngoxolo. Yangifamily yakwaMtebeni ingathi ngexesha libuhlungu kangaka isondele nxele kuThixo kwenzela into yobana yomelele. Thixo ayibonisa indlela yokubheka phambili. Singurhulumente wephondo laseMpuma Kapa sawusoloko sikufutshane nani. Inxeba lenu linxeba lethu. Lala ngoxolo Nosicelo, lala ngoxolo sisi, siyaxolisa. Nkosi.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Fezeka, for the words of encouragement. I can imagine in every woman's mind, the question is, who is next? I'm now going to call upon Reverend Spokas Martini to give us the sermon. You may give us a music item whilst the Reverend is coming to the podium. Thank you.
Ndithi ngolwimi lwenkobe nanga neentsiba zam ndiyabulisa ndingaxamlanga bathi ngelwimi lasemzini all protocol observed. Udadewethu usuka kule ndawo uwenze walula umsebenzi wam kakhulu. Family yasekhaya badla ngokuthi abantu abadala xa bethetha inyongo iyaselwa nobuyarharha. Athi umntu oliciko lokuthetha futhi noba ungayigalela ixamba leswekile inyongo ayisoze ibe sweet. Sime apha namhlanje, I'm asking myself as I am sitting down, Uba, out of all the ministers, Mfundisi Untlingwa, why me? Why a female clergy? Ngoba ingqondo yam ndithathe ndibeke ezihlangwini zikaNosicelo zoba nam I am not safe. Akukho guarantee yoba xa ndiphuma apha Mfundisi ndibuyela eKing Williamstown I will make my way back home. Ngoba isono kukuba ngumuntu ophinqileyo. Kodwa uthi umbhali family yasekhaya sithini na ke kwezi zinto? UbuThixo ungakuthi kubani ongasichasayo. Mhlawumbi ngela xesha lo mfana bethatha ubomi bukaNosicelo becimba ugqibile, kanti uThixo uqala ipage entsha yobomi benu nobobomi bomntwana wenu. Sifuna ukuthi kuni ifamily yasekhaya ngxe xolweni. Siyaxolisa kakhulu. Uba ibikhona indlela ngesithe no ubomi bukaNosicelo makube kanti busaphila. I am only going to read few verses from the Gospel of John, chapter 6, for the benefit of those abangazundiva xa ndithethayo. I will read in English. Verse 63. It is the spirit that gives life. The flesh is useless. The words that I have spoken to you are spirit and life. But among you, there are some who do not believe. Verse 67. So Jesus asked the 12, do you also wish to go away? Simon Peter answered him, Lord, to whom can we go? You have the words of eternal life. We have come to believe and know that you are the Holy One of God. Therefore may I speak in the name of God the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Uyabuza uYesu apha family yasekhaya kubafundi bakhe. Emveni koba kwivesi ezingaphambili ebethe uYesu ndisisonka sobomi. Therefore lowo uyidlayo inyama yam alisele igazi lam uyawuba nobomi obungaphakade. But because abantu basoloko Vice Chancellor bekhangela into a negative out of something positive. Bayabuza kuYesu into yoba lo muntu uthetha kanjani uba if we eat his flesh and drink his blood, then we will have eternal life. At Yesu, because we have to understand abantu into yoba bamele babe confused futhi bangaqondi kodwa ingxaki kaYesu abantu besoloko behamba nabo uyababona ukuba nabo banentandabuzo ezinhlizweni zabo. Therefore ubuyela kubafundi bakhe uyababuza into yoba nani nifuna ukundishiyana. Uthi uPetrosi Nkosi singasuka siyephi? Singasuka siyebani kwelizwe likhohlakele kangaka? Ngoba onke amazwi okuphila afumaneka kuwe. Ngalamini ibingena i-call family yasekhaya isithi uNosicelo is no more. Uyakwaphela ubuxoki, kwaphela inyani, nama in the middle anayazi noba manibheke ngaphi. Khona namhlanje sizowubuyisa umqondo sizowuthi nakule meko nikuyo amazwi okuphila afumaneka kuYesu waseNazaretha. Oyimbangi nomgqibelelisi wokholo lwethu. Futhi akakhathaliseki noba njengebuza uba nani nifuna undishiyana anganishiya abantu. Bese kuthiwa kule ndawo kwathiwa mhlawumbi emveni kwale memorial service emveni kwesingcwabo sikaNosicelo we will forget about izinto ezininzi ngoba ubomi buyaqhubeka. Kodwa sizowuthi kwifamily yasekhaya uThixo onibizileyo akasoze nilahle futhi akasoze nishiye soze aniyekele. Kumzi waseHare University uthi uJohn Silkin xa ebhala in one of his poetry and I have seen stones, I have seen brick, namhlanje kuba nithi niyidli inyama yami nilisele igazi lami niyofumana ubomi obungaphakade. Akathanda umbhali xa ebhala family yasekhaya nabantu bonke abalapha, it is okay not to be okay. Futhi it is okay uba ungayiva lezi zinto zithethwayo ngoba ingqondo ithatha ibeka uba Thixo kuphi ngela xesha umphefumulo womntwana ukuphuma. Funa ukuthi kunefamily yasekhaya, God was there. The fact that nina niyazi uba namhlanje uNosicelo ubhubhile ngoba isimo amke ngaso emhlabeni sine-potential yoba ebenolahlwa naphina kungabikho even a trace of her bones. Kodwa uThixo wathumela abantu njengoba besekutshiwo kule ndawo bachaza uba simbonile umuntu eyilahla isuitcase, ubomi bomntu baredyuswa to impahla ngoba into ethwala isuitcase yimpahla. Nimele ke for that nimbulele uThixo ngoba ebenakho uNosicelo yokulahlwa lwakhe. Nicinga umntana usesesikolweni kanti akasekho kweli limiweyo. Thatha nge-statistics here, kukho abazali nabantu kumakhaya who are still mourning and crying bekhangela abantu babo bengathi babafumana. Kodwa uThixo wanenzela inceba wathi ngeke ndithi seniviswe kabuhlungu kangaka ndiphinde ndivumele intoba ithambo lomntwana wenu ningaliboni apho libekwe khona. Naxa ngenye imini uYesu efika kulo Lazaro esithi nimbekephi, uthi xa efika kuye Lazaro phuma engcwabeni ngoba kuYesu ukhona amazwi okuphila. Family yasekhaya le imeko umntu angathi xa eyijongile athi ukhona isidumbu kweli khaya siyawuphuma ngenxa yenhliziyo ebuhlungu emveni kwalo mngcwabo, kodwa we declare egameni likaYesu waseNazarethe you will live. Thixo kayideli inhliziyo ethumkileyo, futhi uThixo kayideli inhliziyo egqobhokileyo. Umhla nezolo sisithi Nkosi senzele inceba, senzele inceba singabantu ababhinqileyo ezandleni zabantu.
As for stated,
Kodwa basisengcwabeni imihla namalanga. Khona sizothi kuni family yasekhaya ubuYesu esisonka sobomi, meaning akasoza nishiye, akasoza niyekele i-dreams uNosicelo ebenazo ngekhaya lakhe. uThixo will make sure uba nokuyazifulfilla kanjani kodwa they will be fulfilled. I-difference is that azizufulfillwa nguNosicelo esisiqu sasenyameni. Asube kuthi uThixo akavumeli isimo senzeke kuwe ungumuntu futhi akakunikeza umthwalo ongaphezulu kwamandla akho. Kuthethwa le meko nikuyo family yasekhaya, lo mthwalo ubonakala emehlweni abantu ungaphezulu kwenu, kodwa uThixo wazile intoba you will be able to carry lo msebenzi nalo mthwalo ubuhlungu kangakanana, so that umama kaNosicelo ngenye imini kumzalo oshiywe ngumntwana wakhe athi I am a living testimony, akashiywa umuntu ngithixo. Noma abantu banganishiya kodwa uThixo yena soza nishiye. Noba uNosicelo ngemka emehlweni enu, kodwa uThixo yena oyimbangi nomgqibelelisi wokholo nobomi bomntu akasoze
asoze anishiye uyawuhlala nani unaphakade uthi uPetros kule ndawo singasuka siye kubani inkosi ngoba nguwe wedwa. That is the Holy One of God. Abantu ke kwimeko ezinjena bayazingcwalisa, Vice Chancellor, and abanye bafuna ubonakala bona be-innocent, abanye bafuna ubonakala bona bephambili bengathi they are supporting lo msebenzi wenziwayo, kodwa umuntu nomuntu kwabanye abantu abayawuthi beze kuni family yasekhaya funeka nigade uYesu nabantu abangozungula iqhele baba nithi nikwesisimo baphinde baningcwabise kwakhona. Futhi we condemn kwimeko ezinjena no phina umuntu who don't allow the family to mourn and grieve in their own way. Ngoba ngoku sidilishana nemeko yobuntu bukaNosicelo bugcwele social media yonke, and whoever did that never thought of ifamily ifa kanjani. Kodwa sifuna ukuthi kuni there's God in heaven who his promises are yes and amen. Who ubomi bukaNosicelo ebesenza finally yakhe ezawuphangelela phucula imeko yekhaya lakhe bangathi abantu xa bebukele napha elalini apho nisuka khona bejongile kusithiwa besicinga lo mntwana kuyawuba khona igalelo alenzayo ekhayeni lakhe, noba kunjalo family yasekhaya ukhona uThixo. Futhi uYesu uthi ngenye imini xa nizawuhlala phansi kwintombazana equleni ekwakubonakala kuyo uba yona ithembe amanzi oyisemkhulu, ngoba zikhona izinto ezithenjwayo kweli lizwe, bakhona abantu abathenjiweyo kweli lizwe, kodwa uthi uYesu xa efika athi ndipha amanzi ndisele. Ithi le ntombazana ngoba i-tradition ne-culture ekhuliselwe kuyo kukuba akukho budlelwane phakathi kwamaYuda kunye nabo. Uthi uYesu ubusazi ububani ngubani lo uthi kuwe ndipha amanzi ndisele, ubunge ungacela kuye amanzi akukuphila ngoba uyabuya uze kweliqula wawunxana, kanti mina amanzi andinokunikeza wona ngamanzi anokuphila. Athi omnye umuntu xa equla athi ophuzayo kulamanzi akasayi koma naphakade. Siyavuma phela emqaleni, siyavuma kukhona ubuciko bokuthetha, kodwa ayikho enye into esizokuyi-introducer apha. Sizoku-introducer uYesu sisonke sobomi. Xa nibala iminyaka nisithi ngoku njengoba silala ngamanzi eswekile ubuNosicelo besaphila, umntwana wethu ungephangela, ukhona uThixo ozizinto zonke ebomini bomntu. Athi lo mbhali singasuka siyephi xa sinosuka kumka simke kuwe, ngoba onke amazwi okuphila afumaneka kuwe. Sizawuthethwa ke intetho ngentetho, kodwa amazwi okuphila afumaneka kwinkosi uYesu. Sekuthe ekugqibeleni sesilapha kulo msebenzi, sicinga ukuthi kuphelile. Athatha umalibongwe gcwabe akukapheli uThixo engekatsho. Bona abantu can think ubomi bukaNosicelo has been shattered and shortened as we have seen, kodwa kanti uThixo uthi xa iphelile ipage ephepheni, the next thing you need to do kukuba uvule ipage entsha so that uThixo azowuqala nawe ubomi obutsha to i-friends zikaNosicelo. Ezi zifemeli zingumcelimngeni lo wabantu esibavumayo xa besithembisa izulu nomhlaba. Satshila umntwana kaThixo kule ndawo esithi ngoku funeka sibaleke, ngoba umuntu uthe sithi ndiyakuthanda kodwa enhlizweni abe a potential killer yakho. Uthe sithi umuntu I will protect you kodwa ngomso is the one who sells you apha kwihlabathi liphela. Sizokuthi kunike namhlanje walk tall. And no, this is not the end. Ewe kona kubhlungu. Ewe kona amabhinqa ayemka ngendlela engekho mnandi kweliphakathi kodwa isinikeza umkhombandlela woba sithi noba kunjena sizawuqhubeka. Siyavuma kunzima kubhlungu kodwa sizawuqhubeka. Siyavuma indlela isibuyisele emva kodwa sizawuqhubeka. uYesu engumncedi. Iyahambeka le ndlela noba inzima. Thatha omnye umbhali xebhala. Nobody said the road will be easy. Kakho umuntu othe kuzabalula endleleni. It could be anyone. Bazali bami obenoba kwimeko kaNosicelo, ibingaba ngumntana next door, ibingaba ngumntwana wami, ibingaba ngummelwane, kodwa uThixo wayazi. Wayazi family yasekhaya. Uba kusimela kokuphumela. Ezimbandezelweni ezininzi ukungena bukumkanini bukaThixo. Nivalakele ntetha ngamazwi kaSt Augustine xa ebhala ebona imeko yokufa athi death is a mystery. And though an inevitable fact, who is the man that shall not see death, that shall deliver his soul from the underworld. Ithi ke le nto uNosicelo ebengesosimagade kweli lizwe naye bemela zafe noba ke sisithi akamela ngendlela amke ngayo kodwa akukho umuntu ebeyazile oba sizawube sihleli apha ngoba ukufa yindaba engaqondakaliyo nendaba efihlakeleyo as uSt Augustine esitsho kule ndawo esithi death is a mystery kodwa ibona umbuzo lento woba xa ifikile kuwe. Will you be able to say, even on this death, I know my Redeemer lives. I know God of yesterday and God of today and forever will stand with me eternally. Ilando kathatha omnye umbhali xebhala who does not feel sad when looking at a body which had formerly drawn its life from the soul, but is now lifeless since the soul has been taken away from this world. Kwenziwe njalo ngobomi bukaNosicelo. The umntwana esakhabalaza, esazama ukuphila, ubomi bakhe banqanyulwa. Ngoku ke family yasekhaya kumele zenive kabuhlungu futhi kumele zenilile kodwa athi umbhali ningalili njengabantu abangenathemba. Ngoba umuntu ongenathemba uphelele kulileni nasenhlungwini kodwa umuntu olile nethemba uyayazi intoba ufana noJob uthi noba ulusu lwami lungadlavulwa lube nje inhliziyo ityakathwe ngomntanami kodwa ndiyamazi umhlalelo wami uyawusukeme phezu kwethuli lomhlaba sithembo lobabalo lobuthixo noba abantu bangasishiya noba izihlobo zingalandulela ezi sakutshiwo kwathiwa sijongene nepandemic eyi-COVID-19 kodwa this is the second pandemic ngoba kulo meko injalo abantu are still going to the grave site in numbers futhi kushiyeka kukhwamnqekile uthi uqonda mawusonge izandla ngoba kuphela inyembezi emehlweni kodwa kulo meko injalo azisula uThixo inyembezi kwabo balilayo ungabi sabakho sijwili nakukhala ungabi sabakho nhlungu nasingqala ngoba izinto zokuqala zidlule futhi athatha onye umbhali impindezelo siyo yethu vengeance is of God okuko kwethu ukuthi inkosi siza kuwe sidalule konke kwathu sifuna ukuziswa nguwe Nkosi ubumnandi bobuncwane beliphakathi lento ngenye iminute athi umculi pisti no that I am God pisti Hileno Theta Yem God Pistileno Theta Yem God Nani ke pistil uThixo has taken care of the matter yokufa kaNosicelo. Uthi ngenye imini kumaSirayeli xa ewakhuphe iphutha sele ngasaqonda intoba besithi ebengekho namangcwabe iphutha uba sizowufelapha. They never understood ukuthi uThixo uhamba nabo endleleni njengangoku. Ngeke sinigxeke xa ningam-understandi uba uThixo ukhona kunye nani kule journey. Athumela uMoses athi misani nilubona usindiso nakuyenzela nini uThixo kuba lama yiphutha niwabonayo namhlanje anisayiphinda niwabone. Babengaqonda intoba okunene lama yiphutha azawuphelelaphi ngoba into abayibonayo ngumkhosi wamayiphutha nenqwelo zokulwa nezamahashe ebomini babo. Kodwa they never knew ukuthi uThixo unecebo. uThixo unecebo ke ngento nganye. Yithi xa uyifunda iBhayibhile ujonge uthi le Red Sea inkosi yilena athi sizibona sikuyo. Emaqaleni kubonakala ngathi kuvalekile, ngaphambili nangasemva kubonakala ngathi utshaba lugqibile ngathi. Kodwa uThixo athi ndiyayivula indlela ukuze nikwazi ukuqala. Nangoku uThixo univulela indlela family yasekhaya ukuze nikwazi ukuphumela ngaphaya, ukuze nikwazi ukubona ngaphaya, ukuze nithi besikade singaboni kodwa now we see. Uthi besikade singeva ngendlebe kodwa ngoku siyeva. uThixo ke sengangahamba nani, uThixo ke senganganithwala, uThixo ke senga kuba bonke obubomi. Athi umhlabeleli phaya ekhaya kuzo zonke inguqunguqu zobubomi eyami inhliziyo yozukisa uThixo. Mzukisa uThixo selimeko engavumi. Umzukisa uThixo sele kukubi kunjena. Athatha omnye umculi noba kunjena senze njani kungabikho bani uphendulayo kodwa vele ungqangele emihla avele uYesu waseNazarethe. Uthi ndime emnyango ndinqonqoza sapho lakwaNosicelo ndilinde nina nivule ukuze le nhlungu noba ubuhlungu bayo bubonakala ngathi buyani overcome. Kodwa mina njengoThixo xa seningenile ndiyawungena ndidle kunye nani ukuze ubhubhane onjena kwelakhaya ungazi uphinde wenzeke nanini na. Bathi abantu xa bebukele kwakhe kwanje phina andilokhaya lokuqala abazali bam futhi nangoku zininzi imeko ezibalulwayo kodwa we speak life ekhayeni lenu sisithi akunawuze kwelakhaya kulamahlubi kuphinde kube khona ukufa okufana nokwegameni likaThixo uyise unyana nomoya oyingcwele. Amen.
Thank you very much to Reverend Spokers Martini. Even the word of God in Genesis, when Cain killed Abel, the blood of Abel cried to God. The same way the blood of Abel cried to God, the blood of Nosicelo must also cry for justice to prevail. I'm now going to call a family representative, Miss Nomvula Beauty Kushe, to give us some words. Whilst the family member is coming, may I ask to have a music item? Thank you.
I'm going home. I'm going home. I'm going home. Diekaya, Diekaya, Diekaya. Ndivumeleni ndibulise komama notata, ndibulise ebantwaneni bethu ngelihle igama lenkosi yami uYesu Kristu nomsindisi wami, amen. We were in the dark valley of death, but now we are no longer in the dark valley of death, because God is with us. He will never leave nor forsake us. We fear no harm. God's rod and staff gave us courage. Bomama no tata. uThixo uyazibonakalisa ngendlela akazibonakalisa ngayo. Kwaye uYehova uThixo akaveli avele esisiqu. Uzibonakalisa ezimpilweni zethu ngezenzo kuze kubonakala ukuthi uThixo uyaphila ngokuthi angene ebantwini bakhe asebenzise bona ukuze lowo usengxakini abone ukuthi uYehova uThixo ukho, uYehova uThixo uyaphila. We were afraid and intimidated, but now we are no longer afraid and we are no longer intimidated. God is with us. God strengthened us. God helped us. God gave us support with his righteous hand. Kube njalo ke nakubantu esiphila nabo. Babonisile ukuthi Yehova uThixo uyaphila kubo. Basisupport kangangoko benako siyifamily yakwa Mtebeni. Basisupport ukusuka sifumana lo mphanga. Basisupporta endleleni abantu bakaYehova uThixo sisiza eEast London sisuka eMatatiyeli. Babonakalisa uba uThixo uyaphila kubo kwaye uThixo uzibonakalisa kuthi ngabo. So God is with us. We are no longer afraid. God strengthened us. You also strengthened us. God helped us. You also helped us. God supported us with his righteous hand. You also supported us with your righteous hand. Ndisa umbulelo ongazenzisiyo kwi-University yaseFort Hare. Ndisa umbulelo nabantu bakwaMtebeni ngongazenzisiyo kumapolisa ase East London. Ndisa umbulelo ongazenzisiyo, sisa umbulelo ongazenzisiyo kumasipala wase East London. Sibulela ngokungazenzisiyo kwi-South Africa yonke iphela. Kuye kwabonakala ukuthi ngoNosicelo asilimalanga sisodwa, silimele sibaninzi. Siyabulela bantakwethu, siswela yona imilomo eliwaka engesibulela ngendlela enisenzele ngayo, nenze ngaphaya kwendlela ebesiyicinga thina. Sibulela i-University nge-hospitality esinike yona. Siyabonga abazalwane, uYehova uThixo anenze kahle. Kwaye siyacela sengaba kwaMlambo okokuba okukukhathala enokubonisileyo kuthi zeningapheleli kuphela kuthi, nibonakalise nakubanye abantu abaxhwalekileyo. Siyabulela, 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 siyabulela. May God bless you. Thank you.
Enkosi Mama. There were friends of Nosicelo who could not come, who are outside because of COVID restrictions. They have something special, a gift that they wanted to give to the family. Are they outside? Because I had asked them to wait immediately after the family member had spoken. Okay, I'll just proceed with the program. Once they are in, they will come and give the gift. I'm now going to call upon Usis Ndibi, Mayepa. Okay, they are here. You can come. Mama, you can come here to just receive the gift.
Our naughtiness together with her when sees the law students. Sibuhlungu, siyakhala. Into yethu ithi besingafanelanga basinxiba black sizombona ukuhamba kaNosi. Bekufanele basinxiba mnyama as candidate attorneys. Sifumana imisebenzi. Kodwa nevertheless isilapha. We promise uNosi nawe mama ukuthi we will carry the baton forward. We won't let go. Sizaqhubekeka as law students. Amaphupha wakhe sizawuqinisekisa ukuthi asilahli itawuli. Sizawuqinisekisa. We love you.
Thank you very much to the law students. I'm now going to call upon Usis Ndibi to give additional message of condolence.
We have more messages that we'd like to read. We received a message from the South African Union of Students, a short message to the family, the university management, the Department of Higher Education, and all guests present. Please receive our greetings. As the union, we author this note with heavy hearts and deep pain. We are in pain because the youth of this country has lost a soldier in the fight for transformation. From the South African chapter of the International Association of Women Judges, Justice Mandisa Maya, President of the SA chapter of the International Association of Women Judges and the African Regional Director of the IAWJ, says that the protection of women and girls is one of their key objectives. The tragic news of Nosicelo and the other young women found burnt in the bushes of Polokwane has galvanized them into action, and they will be in touch with the institution in due course. Archbishop Thabo Makgoba, Anglican Church. Archbishop Makgoba wrote, "I send you from my chapel in tears, our prayers and the prayers of our church, as you console so many, and especially the women students at the University of Fort Hare. We join you in expressing our shock and condemnation of the gruesome murder of Nosicelo. May you and the whole university community, especially female students and staff, be comforted." Stellenbosch University, Mr. George Steyn, the chairperson of the Stellenbosch University Council, wrote, "It is with shock and sadness that we at the University of Stellenbosch learned of the tragic passing of the young Nosicelo Mtebeni. We want to express our sincerest condolences to the immediate family as well as the University of Fort Hare on this sad loss. Although words are inadequate at a time like this, please know that you are in our thoughts." Rhodes University SRC, they stated the following: "We would like to convey our sincerest condolences to the family of Nosicelo. We strongly condemn all forms of gender-based violence against women. It is mortifying that we still continue to see incidences of femicide, especially during Women's Month. We further stand in solidarity with the University of Fort Hare and all affected students. We urge the law enforcement agencies to be steadfast and ensure that justice for Nosicelo is served." And finally, from Professor Nasila Selasini Rembe, former holder of the OR Tambo Chair in Human Rights. He wrote, "The pain endured by the family, relatives, fellow students, and the community is beyond description. Our thoughts and prayers are foremost with the family and of the deceased during this difficult time, and all the fraternity of students that have shared social and academic life over the years. As we scratch our heads to see how we can avert such callous acts of murders, rape, and violence in future, the University of Fort Hare must mobilize all its constituent parts and marshal all tools to its arsenal. The Charter of Ethical Values and Principles is one invaluable instrument that the university has. I urge you all to spearhead awareness raising that will enable the noble principles and values in the Charter to permeate every Fort Harean and become part of our daily lives. When that happens, we shall be at relative peace." In conclusion, the university has received many messages, informal WhatsApp, SMS, and telephone calls. These are deeply appreciated and have been shared with the family. And we thank you all for your solidarity in sharing the grief of the university and the family and commemorating the life of Nosicelo Mtebeni. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Sis DB. I'm now going to call upon the SRC Transformation and Gender Officer, Ms. Pokas Mbalo, for words of support from University of Fort Hare students.
Thank you to the program director.
Let me take this opportunity and greet our VC, the MEC of the institution, staff, and a special greetings to the Mtebeni family. Please allow me to say all protocol observed. Under normal circumstances, given a platform like this, I would be expected to say many things. But for today, I will not. I would like to pass my sincere condolences to the Mtebeni family, to the students of Forte, to the law students, to the whole community of Forte, and to the entire nation, because the death of Nosicelo traumatized us all. Before President Ramaphosa declared GBV to be a pandemic, Nosicelo has already identified GBV to be a pandemic in 2019. She wrote on her status on Facebook on the 2nd of September 2019. I will quote her exact words. If you have a vagina and you live in South Africa, make sure you are armed. Have a knife or a pepper spray all the time, because you might be the next victim of rape. It's so sad that she only anticipated rape, but did not think that she could be killed to a point of being dismembered. Dear Nosicelo, may your spirit be with us in this war that we're about to begin. As activists against gender-based violence, we will not stop, we will fight, and your spirit will carry us. We are saying no to GBV and femicide. We are calling to the government and the justice system to create a safe space for us as women and as queer community. Nosicelo's death came when me and my colleague, the Transformation and Gender of Alice Campus, we were planning to have a program, and we were planning to name it An Open Letter to Men. This platform was going to be given to our young South African women to tell men that we are not Imbokodo. The women of our generation, we are not Imbokodo. We are human, we have breath, we have blood, we feel pain. So stop treating us, stop treating us like Imbokodo, because we feel pain. This whole thing doesn't make sense. The entire week I have been trying to think about it, to try to process it, but I'm defeated. I had words that I wanted to say, but at this point, I feel weak. But Nosicelo did not die, she multiplied. We will carry on and make sure that her spirit lives longer. Long live to the spirit of Nosicelo. Thank you. Thank you very much to our Gender and Transformation Officer. For every woman who feel abused, you may feel that you are trapped, maybe you are afraid, maybe you are sad, you are angry, and you are shocked. Some are even confused or ashamed. You may even feel that it's your fault, but it's not. No one has a right to hate you. Take the first step to safety and talk to someone about what's happening to you. I'm now going to call upon our Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Renuka Vital, to give us a vote of thanks. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you for sharing today with us. As I reflect on the words that have been said today and in these last few days, Nosicelo would have brought us together in a year's time for her graduation. And I remember that with great sadness. But she has brought us together on this sad day for her memorial service. I want to first of all thank her family for allowing us to share this service with her, with the university community and all of South Africa at this very difficult and sad time. We express our sincere gratitude to the large number of messages of support and prayers that we have received to her family and to the university. We thank the clergy for their prayers and wise words. We thank the faculty of law, the dean, the staff, and the students. We thank the Department of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, the Minister and especially the Deputy Minister for being able to join us for this morning and for his words of support. We thank the Eastern Cape province, the local government and provincial government and the leadership that were present, the Buffalo City Deputy Mayor, the MEC for Sport and Recreation and Culture. We thank the Vice Chancellor, members of the executive, and all the staff and students of the university for their support and for all the words of comfort and prayers that they have provided. In particular, the SRC and the members of the SRC that have addressed us today, the convocation and the president of convocation and the initiatives that they are planning, we welcome those. And then the GBV task team that has been leading us in action on this very important issue. And finally, I would like to thank the Program Director for the leadership in taking us through the program this morning. And of course, a function like this always requires the effort of a large number of staff in the university, in particular institutional advancement, and the many departments, including the department that is housed in this building. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very much for taking the time, for spending this morning with us, and we appreciate not only the words, but also the commitment to work together to rid us of the scourge of gender-based violence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Vitao. I'm now going to ask Professor Lulama to give us blessings as we end our ceremony. Thank you very much for being a good audience.
Sithini na kwezi zinto ukuba uThixo ungakuthi ngubani na ongasichasayo amabandla onke ahlangeneyo ekhokhelwa i-South African Council of Churches, kwakhona athi kusapho ngxe akuhlanga lungehliyo. Xolo lukaThixo lugqitha konke ukuqonda, malugcine inhliziyo neengqondo zenu nimazi uThixo nonyana wakhe uYesu Kristu Nkosi yethu. And the blessing of God Almighty, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit be with you and remain with you always.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah. You? Oh no. That's big, eh? Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Okay. I hear you. No, man, I'm not around. I'm sorry, my lord, man. Yeah. Okay. Okay, sure. So, do you mind sharing that email? Maybe just the interesting part of it, so that we can advertise the editors. You know how the editors work. They want something juicy. So I can sell this presser to them. Yeah, don't worry, I won't. Yeah, don't worry, I won't tell. Wow.